The Cultured Thug Handbook. Imperium Press, copyright 2024, by Mike Maxwell. Note on the text. Over years of publishing dissident literature, I have noticed online resources referenced in our books disappear when they have become embarrassing to powerful people. Even over the course of writing this book, several of the links have gone dead. As such, an attempt has been made to archive all websites referenced in this book, in order to prevent the material from being hidden. This has not been possible in all cases, such as when citing Twitter threads, YouTube videos, now dead links, and so forth. Where we have been able to archive these resources, the archived link has been referenced. The original links have been compiled, and in the event that the archive itself goes down, they will be made available. The fact that such measures have been necessary is evidence that liberalism feels itself to be fragile, vulnerable, and threatened by the very openness it claims to value. Because this book is aimed at a general audience, several appendices have been included for those not familiar with the radical right, including a short bibliography of books relevant to each chapter and a glossary of terms which may not be familiar to those encountering these ideas for the first time. You may hear the feet of children in the background above me. I have decided to include this in the recording as a reminder of what is truly important. Prologue. The Cultured Thug. Ludwig Wittgenstein, perhaps the most famous 20th century philosopher, began his greatest book with a quote, "And whatever a man knows, whatever is not mere rumbling and roaring that he has heard, can be said in 3 words. This is probably not a wise choice, because the rest of the book could only go downhill from here. I say this as a fan of Wittgenstein, and as a great fan of Tractacus. We're told that Einstein said something like this about scientific theories, but then all kinds of liberal bullshit also gets put into Einstein's mouth that he never said, so we can take that with a grain of salt. This is to say something we all know in our gut, that if something is true, and if you really know it, you should be able to explain it briefly and in plain language. That's the approach taken in this book. This book is not meant for the academic philosopher, nor is it meant for the degenerate thug. It's meant for what Jonathan Bowden called the cultured thug. Truthfully, in this age, those with intellect have no courage, and those with some modicum of physical courage have no intellect. If things are to alter during the next 50 years, then we must re-embrace Byron's ideal, the cultured thug. The goal of this book is to foster the cultured thug. The goal is to take the man who looks and acts like a man and to give him back his own intellectual tradition, to help him think like a man. Liberals in the left have taught him that to think like a man is to be a retard, and to not care about ideas. But these people only think this because they don't actually read very much and are not very curious. As it turns out, the cultured thug has a long tradition behind him, and this tradition includes the greatest thinkers who ever lived. So if this book has made even one more cultured thug, it will have succeeded. Like Byron, the cultured thug is the man who can think and fight. Robert Heinlein gives us a picture of this when he talks about the human being. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. For insects indeed. He might as well be talking about the rootless cosmopolitan bug man, the man without a tie to any particular place, a hothouse flower who can live anywhere as long as it looks exactly like everywhere else. Homer's rich without a tie of kin. Our bug man can't butcher a hog, he's vegan. He couldn't set a bone because he would pass out. He never changed a diaper because he has no children. His poetry is weak. He can't give orders, and he sure as hell can't take orders, because that would be hierarchy, and hierarchy hurts his feelings, because he's only ever been at the bottom of one. He talks about diversity, but the only places he's been are other megatropolises that look the same as his. He's only ever learned one thing, and he knows all there is to know about that one thing, and none of what there is to know about anything else. He is the specialist. Truly, an insect. The cultured thug is none of that. The cultured thug can bench 225. He can cook a decent steak. He knows at least one martial art. He owns and can handle a weapon. He can give orders because people will listen, and he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He has a family, or at least he wants a family, and not just weekend trips to Bali until he dies alone and unwept amid his collection of marble action figures. What the cultured thug doesn't have, however, is the time to read 1,000 pages just to understand Spengler, although he should do that. That's where this book comes in. The cultured thug is not a new thing. It's something very old. In fact, the further back you go, the more often you meet him. That's why they're afraid of him. That's why they're afraid of you embracing your tradition. Aeschylus, the father of Greek tragedy, first had his Orestia performed 2,600 years ago. His name will live forever wherever people still read great manly poetry. What was the epitaph written on his tomb? Beneath this stone lies Aeschylus, son of Euphorion, the Athenian, who died in the wheat-bearing land of Gela. The grove of Marathon can speak of his noble prowess, and the long-haired Persian knows it well. He wanted to be remembered as a war veteran first, and poet second. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the cultured thug. End notes for the prologue. Ludwig Wittgenstein, Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, 1921. The quote is attributed to Ferdinand Kernberger. Jonathan Bowden, Why I Write, The Jonathan Bowden Archive, 2010, available at archive.ph. Robert A. Heinlein, Time Enough for Love, New York, 8 Books, 1988, page 248. The Iliad, 973.